Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2, and today I'm going to be giving you a new series. What if Naruto became the next Avatar? Part 1. If you enjoy seeing 1 see Part 2, go ahead and comment down below and tell me you want to see Part 2, and I'll be posting that as soon as possible for you guys. And also remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And also comment down below and tell me you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you. And also go ahead and check out the Anime King and Anime King 3. Yes, I indeed have 3 channels, Anime King, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post what fun every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support, and without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. It was nighttime, in the village of Konoha, and everything looked peaceful. Well, from a bird's eye view. Down on the ground, a boy. He was dressed in tattered clothes. Blonde hair. He was running for his life. There was a group, a literal mob after him. "Get back, you demon!" One of the members in the mob shouted. "Tonight's night you get what you deserve," another one shouted, as he threw a glass bottle towards the boy, but it missed. The boy panted as he ran, as he thought to himself if he could make it to his apartment and barricade himself in there. But he ran right into a dead end in his panic. "No, no, no," he said, as he came to a stop, as he turned back around as the mob had cornered him. Well, 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 we finally caught the demon," a villager said. He sounded really drunk, as the man was tipsy on his feet. "Yeah, nowhere to go," another one said, as they laughed, as they marched towards him. "Stop it." "Huh?" One of them heard the boy say something. "I said stop it! Stop calling me a demon," he shouted. "I didn't do anything to you people. So just leave me alone," he shouted as he stomped his right foot on the ground. The man in front of him was in the shock of his life when an earth pillar came up and knocked him under the chin and threw him away. The villagers were stunned by that, as they looked around confused. What the hell just happened? Wait, did the brat just use our earth style jutsu? "No, that can't make any sense. He didn't use any hand signs," another one said. "Hurry up, let's get him before he can pull another stunt like that," another one said, as they came in. As the boy looked worried and tried to shield himself. "Get away," he said as he brought his hands in front of his face, pushing his hand forward to block himself. Fire exploded from his palm. It hit right into one of the villagers. "Fire! I'm on fire!" as he dropped, as he rolled over the ground. What the hell is going on? He just used fire without using hand signs. "He really is a monster," another one declared. Suddenly, smoke bombs were dropped, as it swallowed the entire comforts of the villagers. They all fell to the ground when he declared they were unconscious, as the Anvu stood on top of the wall. The boy looked up relief, as the dog-masked Anvu turned. "Take these fools to Ibiki," he said. "Naruto, sorry that we didn't get here sooner." "Inu, something strange happened." As the boy looked towards his hands, "I shot fire from my palms, but it wasn't ninjutsu." "You what?" "Yeah, and when I stomped my foot on the ground, this rock popped out." Behind the mask, the one identified as Inu was curious. "I better inform this to the Hokage," he thought. "What do I do, Inu? Is something wrong with me?" Naruto asked. Inu got down to his level. "It's okay," he says. He placed a hand on his shoulder. "There's nothing wrong with you. Let's go to the Hokage and clear things up." "Okay," said Naruto, as Inu took him along. A few minutes later, Hiruzen heard a knock. "Enter," he said. "Hey, JJ," said Naruto as he entered the room. As Hiruzen saw Tobi, the third Hokage of the village, looked over. "Inu, Naruto." He then turned back to Inu. Again. "I'm afraid so, sir." But this time, something different happened. "Different?" Hiruzen said, puzzled. "Yes." Naruto made the earth move, with his feet, without ninjutsu, and shot fire from his hand, without any hand signs. Hiruzen turned towards Naruto. "Is this true?" As Naruto's face looked sorry. "Yes, but I swear, I didn't know that it was gonna happen. It just did. Harrison walked over. It's okay, he said. I'm not mad, he said. You aren't? Oh, okay. But as he looked towards his hand, how did I do it? Everything will be explained tomorrow. But for now, I think it's best that you get some sleep. You look rather tired, Harrison said. As Naruto nodded, as Kakashi escorted him off. Once Harrison was left alone, he went behind his desk. He pulled his pipe as he lighted up. As he took a long puff before releasing smoke from his mouth. As he looked through the window, there is no doubt about it, he thought to himself. It seems that Naruto is the one. I better send word about this right away. As he wrote a message. With that he left. As he arrived to a room that had some messenger birds inside. As he placed his message on the bird's back in the container. To the southern ear temple at once, he ordered. As the bird took off, the bird flew. It didn't take it that long to arrive at the southern ear temple. Arriving there, it came to a stop on the mountain peak. An old woman slowly opened her eyes. She had grayish hair, with a strange upside down tattoo on her forehead, as she was in a monk, meditative position. Well, awfully late for a message, she thought, as she got to her feet and checked the scroll. As she saw the leaf insignia on it, from Konoha, she unraveled the scroll, before she gasped a bit. So it's finally happening. The Avatar has been reborn, she thought. The very next morning, Naruto was in his apartment, as he was looking down towards his hand. So I can make fire and move the ground, and it's not ninjutsu, he thought to himself. He was snapped from his thoughts when he heard the knock, as he cautiously stepped towards the door, fearing that it was someone that was trying to give him a hard time. As he looked through the peephole, he sighed in relief. "Inu," he said. "Naruto, the Hokage requests your presence immediately." As Naruto had been waiting for this call, he can finally understand what happened that night. When they made their way, as they arrived to the office to see, there was Harrison and an old woman inside. "Good morning, Naruto," Harrison said. "I have someone that has come a long way to meet you." As Naruto watched the elder woman approach him. "So this is Naruto. Aren't you a sweet child?" she said. Naruto was still confused as he looked towards her, as he bluntly asked, "Who are you?" "Old woman," he said. "Naruto," Harrison said, "show some respect to our guest." The woman chuckled. "It's quite alright, Harrison. He reminds me of my brother, when we were children." Harrison nodded as he cleared his throat. "Naruto, may I introduce you to Master Jinora, Master Airbender of the Southern Temple." "Airbender? Southern Temple?" said Naruto, confused. As Jinora nodded. "Yes, I've come all this way from the south to meet you." "But why?" said Naruto. Harrison was the one to speak. "You wanted to answer how you were able to control fire and earth without using hand signs for ninjutsu. Well, the answers, she could give you them." As Naruto turned towards her, "You," she said, "you're the Avatar." As Naruto looked at her confused. "Avatar? What's an avatar?" he said. "The Avatar is a bridge between our world and the spirit world. At least, that is how it was before our world. Learn to live together." "I'm confused," said Naruto, as he was still not understanding anything. Harrison looked towards the old woman. "You should probably start from the beginning." "Quite right," she said. Harrison closed the windows and dropped the drapes. After sealing the door shut with a seal, the woman placed a bowl in the center of the room. As Naruto watched, as she spread something around it that looked like salt, she placed some petals and herbs in the bowl. Harrison then lighted on fire with a fire jutsu, as she used wind to create a vision. It was like a hologram. As Naruto watched as it protruded from the bowl, as he saw the land. "What's that?" he said. "That was a world 10,000 years ago," she said. "During that time, there was the humans and the spirits. The spirits lived out in the wild, while the humans lived in the villages. Or to be precise, the villages were protected by a lion turtle, a creature that could bestow upon a human the power of fire, water, air, and earth." As Naruto watched as the lion turtle bestow the abilities upon the people, but it looked like he took them back when they were done using them. The woman continued. The abilities were used to protect them whenever they set out of their village to gather food and sustenance, until one day a young man was able to acquire fire permanently. Behold one, the man who became the first avatar. As Naruto saw the man with brown hair sticking up. "Him?" said Naruto. The woman nodded as she continued. "One lived in poverty, like many of the others in his village. They were under the reign of the Cho family. Because of that, he would steal from said family to feed his two closest friends. Then one day he came up with a plan that would help him stand up to the Chos He volunteered to join a group of hunters that would go into the wild for food. After receiving the element of fire from the lion turtle, he chickened out and requested to go back home. The hunters allowed him, but they told him to return the fire back to the lion turtle. He did not, however. With the power of fire under his command, he rallied his fellow people to raid the Cho family. However, their attempts were unsuccessful, and one was banished from his home. However, to protect himself, the lion turtle granted one a last special request, allowing him to keep the fire. One had traveled the spirit wilds with only fire for his protection. With little food and barely time to sleep, he struggled through the lands. Then one day he arrived at a spirit oasis and tried to get it, but it rejected humans. They were not allowed to get inside. He left, as he was determined to find somewhere else to call his home. He came upon some hunters, trying to capture a cat deer. He fought the hunters, and with the help of the oasis, he drove them off. The spirits, they were touched by his selflessness, so they decided to let him stay. As Naruto watches one, trained with the spirits until a fire became a literal extension of his body. 2 years after his banishment, he set out in the world to find the other lion turtle cities. Little did he know that the travels that he was going to undertake would lead him to the two greatest spirits that had ever existed in time. Who were they? Said Naruto. The light spirit Rava and the dark spirit Vado. As Naruto saw the flashback play between the two spirits and one pleaded for them to stop their destruction, but they told him their business did not concern him at all. Vato, however, took advantage of one and tricked him into severing him from Rava. Vato took leave, leaving Rava to explain what had happened, what his actions had done. What was that? Said Naruto. The both of them were in constant struggle. Vato could not spread his darkness along the land. One, realizing his error, offered to help, but Rava rejected and took off on her own to find Vato. One had moved on, as he found himself in another city, with the people able to manipulate the air. But Vato had found his way there. He turned the good spirits into dark, allowing him to grow stronger and Rava to grow weaker. Rava saw that there was no other way, allowing one to help her. With help from the lion turtle at the ear city, one was given the ability to bend the ear for as long as Rava could hold on to it for him, because no human could bend more than one element at a time. As Naruto watched as they traveled to the other cities, one learned how to bend water and earth. In order for one to use another element, Rava had to fuse him to do so, but worried that the pressure would destroy him. But one would not give up. He would stop Vato from corrupting the world with darkness. Eventually, one came upon his former home and his spirits that he used to live with. Both sides were at war. Vato was feeding off the negative energy. They had tried to stop him with their fusion, but they were unsuccessful. Rava was weakened, so one carried Rava in a teapot that he took from his home, and they made their way to face off against Vado in the final showdown. Naruto watched as they fused together and fight him on an even field, and Vato was defeated, and they sealed him away inside of a tree. After Vato imprisonment, one had the spirit retreat in the spirit world and seal off the link between our world and theirs. Since then, one tried to maintain balance in the world, trying to coexist, making the people live peacefully. Unfortunately, the four groups of benders were not easily persuaded, and they waged war after war. When one was at the end of his life, he felt that he failed Rava and trying to bring peace to the world, but Rava promised him that they will always be together, and this mission of achieving peace, it will continue on to the next life. That is how the Avatar cycle began. The vision vanished as Hiruzen pulled the shade to let in some light. Wow, said Naruto. So one tried to bring order and balance to the world, but he was unable to accomplish it. I'm afraid so. And since then, Rava and one spirit was reincarnated into another bender, and it will be their mission to carry on where one left off. How does anyone know who the next Avatar is? Naruto asks. The Avatar is the only being in the world that can master all four elements, but to determine who it was, they must also follow the cycle. One started off as a firebender and learned airbending, waterbending, earthbending, and this has been going on for at least 10,000 years, said Naruto. Correct, she said. And though the Avatar cycle has begun once again inside of you. So, what bender am I naturally born as? Said Naruto. Our last avatar was a waterbender, which would make you an earthbender by blood. A earthbender by blood? Then my parents had to be earthbenders or something, right? Harrison looked guilty. Naruto, he said. As Naruto looked up, "It's time I told you the truth about your parents." He walked towards his desk and opened a drawer. He popped open a hidden compartment underneath and pulled out a couple documents. As he handed documents to Naruto, "What are these?" said Naruto as he was puzzled. "These are the files I was requested to dispose of, but I could not. I would just be dishonoring the ones who gave their life to protect this village." Here's an explain. As Naruto looked up, as he saw a photo of a woman, red hair as she was dressed in a Konoha shinobi uniform. As he saw a name at the top, Kushina Uzumaki. As Naruto froze, "Uzumaki? Gigi, is this?" Hiruzen nodded, "Yes, Naruto. She's your mother." As Naruto's eyes went back towards the photo, as tears started to form in his eyes, as he looked at the beautiful woman, his mother, he started to get sadder. But Naruto Uzumaki was never one to be known as a sad one. As he placed on his brave face, "What more can you tell me about my mom?" he said. "Well, Naruto, Kushina Uzumaki was an earthbender, born into the Uzumaki clan. They were once hailed in another village, until they were wiped out by the other nations. Many members fled to safety, but others, they weren't so lucky. But then both of our village had an alliance, which was strengthened, because the first Hokage was married to Uzumaki." "He was?" said Naruto. "Yes, in fact, the spirals on our trademark shinobi vests is the symbol of Ozu. Your mother was just like you, a very loving and caring person, but really hot-headed and loud." Hiruzen chuckled as Naruto pouted. "She grew into a fine, loyal shinobi, and eventually married a man that she knew since they were kids. A man that became the hero of this village." "Hero of this village," said Naruto. As Naruto really wondered if this was going where he thought it was going. There was always one person that was brought up whenever people talk about hero of this village. Are you talking about the fourth Hokage?" he said. As Hiruzen nodded. "Wait, if he was married to my mother, that means..." "Yes, Naruto. You're the son of the fourth Hokage. Minato Namikaze is your father." More tears fell in Naruto's eyes. "The fourth Hokage is my father? My idol?" said Naruto. Jinora could tell that the boy was going through a lot. As he spoke up, "Why wasn't I told about this?" he said. "I wanted to tell you the first moment you asked me who your parents were, Naruto. But unfortunately, my former teammates, and shall we say a few others, objected to tell you about this knowledge." "Why?" said Naruto. "Because for one thing, if you carry your father's last name, it will attract too much attention for the other nations. And another wanted to keep you away from your heritage, so that he could use you at his advantage." "Who? And why?" said Naruto. Hiruzen sighed as he knew that Naruto wouldn't like this. "Danzo Shamira, an old acquaintance that worked on my council. He wanted all information withheld from you, so that he can turn you into a living weapon." "A living weapon?" said Naruto. "Wait, did he know I could have been the Avatar?" "No, and thank goodness he didn't know or suspect anything back then," Hiruzen said. "He wanted to make a weapon out of you by using what is inside of you." "Inside me?" As Naruto looked towards his stomach and his chest. "Gigi, is there something else I should know?" "Yes, you know the event that happened 7 years ago when you were born." "Yes," said Naruto. "The village was invaded by a nine-tailed fox bird until the fort defeated it." As Naruto narrowed his eyes, now knowing that the fort was his father, "There's something I don't know, is there?" "Sadly, yes. Your father did not defeat the nine tails. He sealed it away at the cost of his life." "Seal it away?" said Naruto. His mind then pondered. "Demon, get back here!" As Naruto looked down, It's inside of me, isn't it?" "Yes," Naruto, Hiruzen said. "So, that is why they all call me Demon." Hiruzen didn't want this to happen, for the hatred to ignite a spark that they could not out. "Do not believe their words, Naruto," he said. "Believe me when I say your father wanted you to be hailed as a hero. But the villagers are too blind by their own hate and their sorrow for the loss of their loved ones. They're unable to see that you're just a cell and not the jailer inside. I even made a law forbidding anyone from talking about what was inside you." "That doesn't make it any easier," said Naruto, tears in his eyes. "I know." Hiruzen said. "I blame myself. I should have been the one to perform the ritual. Your father insisted that it should be him. I'm not sure why he wanted to be you, but he had to have chosen you for a very special reason." "Well, I haven't seen it," said Naruto. Jinora placed a hand on his shoulder. I believe that one day you will discover the truth. Why he did it, Naruto, she said. Naruto sighed. If you say so, he said. He didn't want to think about that right now. What about this whole avatar thing? What's gonna happen now? As a new avatar, it's supposed to be your mission to maintain order in the world. As the avatars that came before you. Sounds like a big job, said Naruto. Even bigger than the Hokage. It is, the woman said. But before that, you have to master all 4 elements before you can be recognized as avatar. How can I master them, said Naruto. By training with those who has already mastered them, she said. For example, as she held out her palm, as Naruto watched a miniature typhoon appear in her palm. I'm a master airbender. Cool, he said. But to master these elements, Naruto, I'm afraid you have to do it somewhere outside the village. Why outside? Naruto asked. It wouldn't be wise if everyone in the village find out that we were hosts in the next avatar. As you can see how they're being by understanding what is inside of you. Imagine how they will react when they found out that you were meant to be the next hope for the world. As Naruto realized that was a lot. I see, he said. But where would I go? You would come with me to the Southern Ear Temple, where you will learn everything that you need to know about the 4 elements, and everything that you need to know about the Avatar. But this will not come so easy, Hiruzen said. You will be required to stay away from the village for your entire training session. As Naruto pondered over that, hey, in the words of Juan, to the Eye Spirit, I've had enough of these villagers, said Naruto. As that made the 2 old folks laugh. As Jinora cleared her throat, if that is your decision, then we shall leave at once. Really? Shouldn't I pack anything? Said Naruto. Not to worry. Everything you'll need will be provided for you there. There's something you can take with you, Hiruzen said. Huh? Said Naruto. As Hiruzen went over towards the book cover and moved it aside, there was a seal on the wall. As he opened it, he pulled out a few scrolls as he handed Naruto. Inside those are a few standard taijutsu, ninjutsu, and other styles that will advance as you grow. Some also contain elemental ninjutsu as well. Think of them as extensions of helping you how to use the 4 elements. Thanks, DJ, said Naruto. We best leave at once, Jinora said, as Hiruzen guided them out of the office. As they stood on top of the building, Naruto was confused. So, how do we get to the Southern Ear Temple, he asked. Jinora held out a whistle that shaped like a bison. With this, as she blew into it, Naruto was confused as he heard nothing. He then saw a shadow, as he heard something behind him. He then turned. What the hell is that? He said, as there was a big creature there. Naruto, say hello to Pepper. The creature named Pepper released a heavy grunt. Well, what is that? Said Naruto. This, Naruto, is a sky bison. Sky bison? Yes, they were commonly used by the Earmans in the past, when they need to venture out in the world. In fact, sky bison were considered the first type of airbenders. The mark on my forehead and many others that came before me modeled them after the sky bison. Whoa, said Naruto, that's cool. She nodded as she used airbending to jump right on the head of the bison. As Hiruzen picked Naruto up and placed him right in the saddle. As Naruto spoke to the old man sadly, I guess this is it, huh, Gigi? Don't worry, Naruto. It's not a goodbye after all, Hiruzen said, as he comforted the boy. As Naruto smiled, yeah, I'll be back one day. I know what he said. The woman turned towards Hiruzen. We will be sure to give you letters on Naruto progress, time after time. And in return, I shall also inform you and Naruto of the status here in the village, Hiruzen said. She nodded. Hang on tight, Naruto, she said. Pepper, yip yip. Good luck, Naruto, Hiruzen said, as the bison took off. As Naruto waved goodbye to JJ, as he clutched onto the bison. As the woman looked back at Naruto and saw him looking over the edge, she smiled. Korra, she thought to herself, I know somewhere deep inside that you will be watching over Naruto, and I know you will come to his aid when he needs you the most. Time skip. After a long flight to the south, Pepper landed. She used airbending as Naruto felt himself being picked up as he was gently placed on the ground. Welcome, Naruto, to the Southern Ear Temple. Wow, said Naruto as he looked around. It's like the whole temple is in the sky. She chuckled. These temples were built up to the high altitude to keep intruders from reaching them, she said. Whoa, I want to see more of this place, said Naruto as he jumped around excitedly. Take it easy, Naruto, she said. You will see more of the temple, but for now, follow me. As they walked, Naruto saw multiple people. They were dressed in monk clothing, like Jinora. They had bald heads, and they were practicing airbending. As Naruto watched as they moved the air currents around them, like Jinora could. Jinora, a voice said. The two looked up as they saw an old man, about Jinora's age, approaching them. He had dark skin, grayish hair, and an arrow tattoo on his forehead. Kai, Jinora said, as Naruto watched as they embrace and share a kiss, as he turned his head as the old people kiss. So, said Kai, as he broke apart, how did he go? We have our avatar, Kai. As Jinora turned and she saw Naruto looking off to the distance. Naruto, she said, come here. As Naruto came over, Naruto, this is my husband and fellow airbender, Kai. Kai, this is Naruto Uzumaki. The old man shook Naruto's hand. Well, it's very nice to meet you, Naruto, he said. Likewise, sir, said Naruto. Kai and I have been living here at the Southern Ear Temple, training. New generation of airbenders, said Jinora. Well, seems we got ourselves a new pupil, said Kai. I guess so, said Naruto. So when do I start to get training? Before we get into any training, Naruto, Kai and I would like to educate you on the last few avatars. There is much about them that you should know. Sure, said Naruto as he followed them into the temple. The three entered the room loaded with statues. As Naruto looked at them all, what's with these statues? Jinora explained, these statues are memorial for past avatars. There are so many, said Naruto with a gasp. As Kai nodded, that's right. 10,000 years worth of avatars. As Jinora motioned Naruto to look at the statue at Wan and Rava. See there? This is a memory of Wan and Rava. Take a look at some of them, she said. As Naruto walked up to them. So all these guys were my past life. Precisely, said Kai. There was Avatar Yang-Chi, Avatar Koru, Avatar Koshi, Avatar Roku, Avatar Aang, and finally, as Naruto looked towards the last statue, Korra, he said. As Naruto blinked, as Jinora smiled, you never met Korra before, but you know her name. It's because she was your past life. As Naruto scratched the back of his head, but I couldn't remember the other's name, he said, because the old connection to the other avatars were destroyed. Jinora said. Destroyed? How? Said Naruto. Before we get into it, let me tell you a story known as the 100-Year War. As the three of them sat down. 100-Year War? Said Naruto. Yes, it started a long time ago, during the time of Avatar Roku, his friend, Fire Lord, Sozan, thought to spread the Fire Nation worldwide. The other nations would not let him do that, so they set the stage for the 100-Year World War. When Roku's time came to an end, the Avatar was reborn as an airbender known as Aang, who was my grandfather. Aang was a happy boy who learned everything under the guidance of Monk Gyatso. Then one day Gyatso and the other Ear Temple sages revealed to Aang that he was the Avatar and was needed due to the war that has been going on. This news was very nerve-wracking to him, and his own fellow airbenders started to reject him as feeling as being the Avatar was an unfair advantage in their airbending games. I know how that feels, said Naruto with a sigh. Jinora, continue. The pressure that the sages placed on Aang for his training was unbearable to him. But Monk Gyatso tried to make sure Aang had a balanced life that included fun. However, the other sages thought Gyatso was being too soft on him and planned to move Aang to the other Ear Temple away from Gyatso. Unfortunately, Aang overheard their plans and he ran away with his Sky Bison Appa, and two of them got caught in a very bad storm. They fell into the ocean and almost drowned. But Aang was able to activate the Avatar state and use water bending to freeze himself and Appa in ice, preserving himself. Wow, said Naruto. Then 100 years later, my grandmother Kitara and my grand-uncle Sokka found him and he was released. That day, they traveled across the world with him, trying to find teachers to help him with his other elements, so that he could take on the current Fire Lord. It was a long and difficult journey, but with the help of his allies, Aang was able to defeat the Fire Lord and bring peace to the four nations. He would go on since that and accomplish many more great things. He sounded like an amazing Avatar, said Naruto. That he was. He had the title of being known as the last Airbender, since the Airbender genocide. So, if he was the last Airbender, how did the Ear nomads became populated again, said Naruto? Well, Aang and Kitara settled down and started a family composed of my uncle, Bimi, and Kia, who was born a waterbender, and finally my father, Tintin, who would be the first airbender in 100 years. My father took it as his responsibility to carry on the legacy. Eventually he met a woman named Pema, who one day became a mother to four. Four? Said Naruto. Yes. There was myself, my siblings, Milo and Rohan, and Kiki. All four of us born as airbenders and could help our father restart the Ear nomads. Kai then spoke up, but during Korra's time, she performed an act that awoken airbending and several other normal people, including me. So you weren't always an airbender, said Naruto. No, I was once a normal boy. A thief to be precise, Kai said. You were a thief, said Naruto. Yes. I would always play a tricky con, and smuggle and steal anything valuable until I met Korra and her friends. They brought me to the Northern Ear Temple, where I first learned the basics of airbending. Since then, over the years, I became a master airbender, as emotion towards his tattoo. Wow, said Naruto. So what can you tell me about Korra? Jinora spoke. Korra was born in the southern water tribe. My grand helped teach her the ways of the water and style, and as the years followed, she learned how to master the rest of the elements. When it was time for her to learn airbending, she came all the way to Republic City to train my father. Republic City, said Naruto. Kai explained. After the events of the 100-Year War, Aang and his friend Zuko found the metropolis as a safe haven for all, benders and non-benders. Sounds like a paradise, said Naruto with a smile. Well, not always, Jinora said. Republic City was also known for its famous rising crimes and gangs. One of the worst type of gang was a cult known as Equalists. What's Equalists? Equalists are cults of non-benders who stand up to benders that made them feel oppressed. Their leader was a man known as Amon, who wanted to lead a revolution against all benders of Republic City, which would have led to a city war. But Korra put a stop to him and exposed him as a fraud, ending the Equalists. Neat, said Naruto with a smile. Kai spoke. We will be happy to tell you about the life of Korra and many others, but you must be hungry after that long fly. I'm starving, Naruto admitted. Then, follow us. Soon, Naruto stood in front of the leafy dishes. Is this all that is here, said Naruto? Sorry, Naruto, but here are your temples. The monks are vegetarians. As Naruto's eyes went wide at the thought of not eating ramen. Don't worry, you get used to it, he chuckled at the boy. As Naruto gulped. So what kind of bending I will be learning first, he said. Air, fire, water? Slow down, Naruto. Before you begin learning any of those forms, you must learn earth bending. Your birth. Bending from your mother. Oh, okay, said Naruto. But you guys are all airbenders. So who am I gonna learn from, he said. Jinora smiled. Kai and I have some old friends that can help you there. Who? Said Naruto. As Kai answered. The last team avatar, he said. Time skip. The sun rose over the temple as the light shined through the window inside the room where Naruto was. He groaned as he placed his pillow over his head. He heard the door to his bedroom open up. Stepping in was Kai. Rise and shine, Naruto. As Naruto slowly pulled himself up. Mr. Kai, he said. I'm not a morning person. Well, neither was I or any of the new airbenders. Master Tenzin thought. But we got used to it. Come on, breakfast. We'll be ready soon. You have a hard bargain, said Naruto as he made his bed, and made his way with Kai. As he arrived at the hall where Jinora and many others were already getting a healthy meal in. Ah, good morning, Naruto. Morning, Master Jinora, said Naruto. I trust that you slept well. About the best sleep I ever had. The bed in that room is so comfy. Better than the one I have back home. I'm glad to hear it. Now eat up and get ready. You got a full day of learning airbending, and we have guests coming, she said. Yes, ma'am, said Naruto, as he ate breakfast with the others. About an hour later, after taking a shower, he got changed into grey shorts and a green shirt. He waited patiently with Jinora and Kai outside the temple. How much longer, he said, as he was getting impatient. Any moment now, said Kai. Jinora looked up and smiled. There they are. As Naruto saw another ear bison come down. Using airbending to get off was 3 old benders. One was a woman with 2 buns in her hair. The second was a man with grey hair and a small goatee. The third was a man. He was a bit younger than the others. All of them had tattoos. Following them were 3 more figures that looked older than them. They were 2 old men. One of them had a parrot on his shoulder, another one wearing a red scarf on his neck, and 2 old women. Milo, Iki, Rohan. Jinora called as she embraced the 4 airbenders. Kai spoke to the other 3, Miko, Asami, Opal, Bowling, as he hugged them. Hey Kai, good to see you. Miko greeted him. How are things up here? Asami asked. Couldn't be better. It's been a while since we last saw each other. How is retirement from future industries going? Kai asked. Oh, such a relief. I'm still up to date with the news. Ayumi sends me. Milo then spoke up. Okay sis, where is he? Iki spoke up next. Yeah, where's the guest of honor? Jinora smiled and looked over. Naruto, come over here please, she said. Naruto walked over as he looked up at the old people that looked down towards him. Naruto, we'd like to introduce you to Milo, Rohan, Iki, Maiko, Bolin, Oppa, and Asami. Guys, meet Naruto Uzumaki, our new avatar, she said. The group lowered themselves to his level. Maki spoke first. Nice to meet you, kid, as he extended his hand. As Naruto reached out and shook his hand. Nice to meet you too, I guess. The fire parrot jumped from Bolin's shoulder and landed on Naruto's head. Hey, said Naruto, as Bolin laughed. Don't worry. Pabio the Third is harmless. Pabio the Third, said Naruto. Yeah, I used to have a fire bird named Pabio. When they became a dad, and one of his kids had a little one of his own, Bolin said, as Pabio the Third started licking Naruto's face. Hey, come on, that tickles, said Naruto. Iki then spoke up. So this is Korra's legacy. As Naruto looked up, you know Korra? Milo answered, you bet, kid. We knew her. When we were only your age. Naruto said Jinora. These are my 3 siblings. So you're airbenders too, said Naruto. Uh-huh, said Rohan. As we got older, we were stationed at a different airbending temple to train new airbenders. Jinora and Kai occupied the temple here in the south. When the northern temple was rebuilt years ago, Iki was stationed there. I was stationed at the West Ear Temple, and Milo was stationed in the east. Wow, said Naruto. Maiko then spoke up. Bolin, Asami, and myself was Korra's best friend when she moved to Republic City. We were the new team Avatar carrying on the legacy of Avatar Aang and his team, said Bolin. We helped Korra face a lot of dangers in her Avatar days. Asami said, yeah, those were the good old days. Maiko said, bro, don't say it like that. You make me feel old, Bolin said. But you are old, said Naruto, as the group laughed at the reminder. As Jinora then spoke, I brought them here because Mako and Bolin can help you train to become the next Avatar. How? Said Naruto. Well, Bolin said, I happen to be an earthbender, and Mako over there is a firebender. As Mako continued, since Korra was our best friend, who helped me and Bolin out of so many jams in our life, we owe it to her to teach a new Avatar the bendings that we're good at. As Naruto nodded as he looked towards the other two. So, is one of you a waterbender? Actually, I'm an airbender, Opal said. And I'm not a bender, Asami said. Jinora placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Don't worry, Naruto. Until you learn how to master earth, fire, and air, you won't have to worry about water bending. But don't worry, we know someone that can teach you. But until then, focus on the other 3 elements. If you say so. Bolin spoke up. So it is true that you're born airbender. Apparently so, said Naruto. Then I'll be the one to teach you, said Bolin with a smile. Right here, said Naruto as he looked around. I don't think so, Jinora said. We don't need rock getting thrown all around the temple. So where can we do it, Naruto asked. Don't worry, we'll take you somewhere to train. As they led Naruto to the sky bison that he came on, they climbed on board as Opal took the reins. Juicy. Yip yip. As the bison took off, Juicy came to a stop in the mountain part of the Earth Temple. It was a quarry with a lot of rocks around. As Bolin looked around, yeah, this is the appropriate spot, he said. We'll start your earthbending here. Alright, said Naruto, as he cheered in happiness. First off, said Bolin. Watch and see first, he said. Naruto watched in amazement as the old man picked up the pebbles around him and let them soar around his body. Before coming towards his fingers as he flicked them upwards, he was controlling them with ease. When Bolin finished, Naruto was clapping. You like that, huh? That was amazing, said Naruto. I'm glad you think so. With the right training, you'll be able to do that and even more. Really? Said Naruto. Yep, with training and practice, Bolin said. Well then, let's get started, said Naruto, as he was getting pumped. Okay, first, let's get you in a proper stance. Follow me, he said, as he lowered his stance a bit. As Naruto followed. Then, you must concentrate. Be the earth. Be the earth, said Naruto. Yes. To earthbend you must feel the earth that you stand on. Okay, I'll try, said Naruto, as he tried to concentrate. But nothing happened. I got nothing, said Naruto. As Bolin looked at him, Jinora told me that you earthbend before. Yeah, but it had to be a fluke, right, said Naruto. Not quite. How did you feel when you first did it? Bolin asked. Well, I was mad and upset when a villager was insulting me, said Naruto. Bolin nodded. You trigger earthbending through strong emotions. Most beginning benders are able to trigger their abilities with their emotions, but we'll need to train you to grasp it so you can use it no matter how you're feeling at the time. Okay then, said Naruto, let's try again, as he got back into the stance. As Bolin continued to teach Naruto, it took a few tries, but eventually, whoa, said Naruto, as he was able to lift a few medium-sized boulders from the earth. He tried to launch them. Bolin had to move out of the way as Naruto almost hit him. Well, his control wasn't so good yet. Eventually, they took a break as Opal brought them lunch. So, said Naruto as he sat down with them, how did you become friends with Korra? Bolin smiled. Well, it was many years ago, when Michael and I were teenagers. Back then we were pro bending players. Pro bending, said Naruto. Opal was the one to speak. A sport developed for benders. It's really popular in Republic City. As Bolin continued, Mako and I and another was known as the Fire Ferrets. It was our dream to make it to the finals. Although we were good, we weren't exactly the best. Korra had came to Republic City, and she had snuck away to watch the matches. I was glad to admit her, but at the time Mako was rather indifferent. But the next night our third teammate was a no-show. We were almost disqualified, but Korra stepped in and we could compete. Although Korra was up to a rocky start as a pro bender, she managed to win with us. Since then she trained with us, since that we were on our way to the finals. She even saved me when I was captured by a bunch of creeps. Wow, said Naruto. Yeah. But besides all the tough time and the negative people, we always stuck by each other and faced it no matter what. You guys sounded really close, said Naruto. Yeah. We were like a family. Family, said Naruto as he looked up. Michael and I can relate to you, Naruto. Huh? Said Naruto. We lost our parents when we were kids. We spent time on the street doing what we could to survive. We even got involved with a bad crowd. Really? Said Naruto. Yeah. Those were the days that you don't miss. As Naruto nodded. What about you and Opal? Said Naruto. How did you meet? Well, this was a long time ago. I was in a state known as Seiyuku, home to the Metal Clan. Metal Clan? Said Naruto confused. I'll get to that. Bolin at the time was traveling around with Korra, looking for new airbenders, and I happened to be one of them. You might say I fell in love with Bolin, goofy and funny personality. Bolin smiled at that as she continued. I almost wasn't sure if I was going to go to the Ear Temple to learn because I was afraid of disappointing my mother if I left home. But I learned from her. It's about time I started to go my own way. Eventually we settled down and we started a family. We got a son who coached the junior pro bending team in Republic City. Cool, said Naruto. As Opal smiled, decided to share some more history. You know, I happen to be related to the earthbender that taught Anne in this time. You are? Said Naruto. As she nodded, yes, my grandmother. Toph. Bifang, she said. Could you tell me about her? Said Naruto. As she smiled at that, sure. Grandma Toph was born blind. Her parents sheltered her, thinking that her blindness made her fragile and helpless. They had high expectation of her, expecting her to behave well-mannered and noble because of their high status in her kingdom. One day she ran away from home, into the caves of blind badgers, who were said to be the first earthbenders that taught it to humans. She learned how to use earthbending by mimicking their movements, and she then learned how to see the world around her by feeling the vibration on the ground. That's cool, said Naruto. As she got older, she sneaked off behind her parents' back to attend fighting tournaments. That is where she first met Avatar Aang, Sokka, and Katara. Aang wanted her to teach him how to earthbend, but she declined. She got a stubborn streak and personality of independence after being on her own for a while. But after putting up with her parents' worry and overprotectiveness, she left home, decided to teach Aang earthbending, and she learned a new type of earthbending. Huh? What's that, said Naruto? It's called metal bending. Metal bending, said Naruto. As Bolin nodded. It's when an earthbender has the ability to bend metal objects. Though not every earthbender can do it, as you know, said Bolin. Not so good I take it, said Naruto. Nope, but I did learn the second form of earthbending, which is lava bending. Lava bending? That sounds awesome, said Naruto. It sure is, said Bolin. As the woman continued. While Grandma Toph was not the best person to get along with, especially with Miss Katara, she proved that she would always come through to help her friends in the end. I also heard that she had a crush on Sokka. Really? Said Naruto. Yes, but Sokka was already into someone else. So after the Long Year War, she became head of law enforcement in Republic City. She and various officers trained in metal bending to keep peace in the city. She eventually got married twice and had 2 daughters from each husband. My mother, Sue, and my aunt, Lynn. She believed that she should not make them relive her past, so she gave them more freedom, but it didn't work out as she thought. My Aunt Lynn wanted to make her proud, so she became a cop like her. But my mom, she was kind of a rebel. A rebel? Said Naruto. Yeah, surprised me when I found out. There was a moment where our family nearly fell apart. My aunt caught my mother in some theft and brought her in. Grandma Toph, torn between what to do. made a hard decision. She destroyed the report, and she told my mom she had to leave the city. Aunt Lynn was not happy that she got away with it. My grandma had retired from the force a year later and reconciled with my mom, but my aunt wanted no part of it. Sounds like your aunt and your grandma's stubbornness. You have no idea, Open said that laugh. Eventually my grandma left and traveled the world for enlightenment. She finally settled down in the Froggy Swamp. So what about your mom and aunt? Did they ever reconcile, said Naruto. Yes, when Korra and her friends came to see us, Aunt Lynn was also there. It wasn't just a good reunion at first, but eventually they worked out their differences and they made peace. As Naruto smiled, good for them, he said. As they finished their lunch, Bolin spoke up. Alright, Naruto, he said. Time to get back to work. Opal watched as the boy trained her husband. He reminded her a lot of Korra. She knew, with all of them helping him, he would be a great avatar someday. But guys, we end episode right here. If you enjoy seeing 1C Part 2, go ahead and comment down below and tell me 1C Part 2, and I'll be posting that as soon as possible for you guys to enjoy. And remember to stay tuned for the rest of what is coming your way over on Anime King and Anime King 3. But I'm off for now, see you guys soon, peace.